Hey there, welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. If you are brand new to my channel, yay, you found me finally. I've been waiting for you. And if you're a returning subscriber, yay, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support while I try to get this channel to grow. So, as you know, if you're a returning subscriber, my goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can make the best decision as to whether or not you want to spend time or money or both sometimes watching a specific film. So the specific film I'm reviewing today is called 22, The Unforgotten Soldier. This very dramatic film is now available on Amazon Prime Video. It's rated R and is an hour and 50 minutes long. My overall movie review mom grade is a B minus. And let me explain why. I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll point out things I liked and did not like, as well as offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, interesting lines, and recommendations for other films that are sort of similar that you might also like if you like this one. All right, so in a nutshell, before the movie begins, we see a quote on big screen by General George S. Patton Jr. that states, quote, "It is foolish and wrong to mourn the men who died. Rather, we should thank God for such men lived," end quote. And that is absolutely true. The story is about two Marines from different generations who bond over time to fight the real battle after coming home from war in order to survive the statistic of 22 suicides per day, which is heartbreaking and an accurate statistic. The sobering film was written and directed by Sam Medina, who also stars in it. It has already won several awards. If you've been following my reviews for some time, you know that one of my sons is currently in the Army. He absolutely loves it, and I am so proud of him for serving his fellow men. But of course, as a mother, I worry about his safety and well-being. So movies like this one are especially hard for me to watch. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not a good movie. On the contrary, it's very powerful and very realistic. So let me give you, before I get into all of that, some of the list of things that I really liked about the film. First of all, I love how the vets call each other brother. And that is one of the elements of serving in the military that my oldest son absolutely loves. He loves that band of brothers, that feeling of brotherhood. Now, he has three real brothers too, and maybe that's why he loved it so much, because they're all so close. I don't know. But it's very sweet, and you really feel that many, many times. It's spoken brother in this film, and it's a very close-knit community. The casting choices I thought were very diverse and interesting. We have someone with a French accent, and then another one, I couldn't quite tell. We really only saw her a little bit in the film, but she sounded Eastern European maybe. And then, everybody else is American pretty much. We hear some vets talk about their experiences. Now, they are either really good actors or genuine vets sharing their experiences. Their words were really powerful. And so I need to know more about these people, who they were in the movie. Are they real veterans? Were they invited by Sam Medina specifically to share their experiences? Was it scripted out? Were they just talking from their heart? That's what it looked like. And so again, I don't know if that was just really great script writing in those segments, especially, or if those were real vets. Anyway, I loved that. That was really fantastic. The film offers a very serious look at the difficult journey our vets take when they come home and try to rebuild their lives after active service in the military, especially when fighting in a war zone. Now, I was very lucky that my son was deployed, but in a safe, relatively safe area. He was over in the Middle East, and they did have bombs and bullets and things flying, but it wasn't like right after 9/11 in Afghanistan, where our soldiers were in so much danger and coming home in coffins every day. Anyway, I'm so grateful that he was safe and he got to experience what it was like being over there. The film illustrates the need to build a supportive community around these soldiers who return. It also emphasizes the fact to the soldiers themselves that they need to reach out for help, even when they think that they can handle all of their complex emotions and internal wounds. I recently returned from a trip to Normandy, France, just last month, where I got to visit the beaches of Omaha and Utah. Specifically, those were two of the points where the American soldiers in the Navy were coming out from the ocean onto the beaches there. And I could not stop the tears that readily fell from my eyes when we stood next to the tombstones at the American cemetery there up on the hill. It is such a powerful place. And our visit ended with a very special double flag ceremony where they lowered two flags at the end of the day while taps was playing. And again, the tears flowed. And we were with a French tour guide, and she saw me just, buckets of crocodile tears. And she's like, "Are you okay?" And all I could say was, "This is really powerful." And she said it kind of surprised. And I'm like, how could you not go there and have that kind of an experience? It's powerful. And in fact, my all-time favorite war movie, if that's possible to have a favorite war movie, but I do, is Saving Private Ryan. And the first time I saw it, I recoiled in horror because it appears in the film so realistic. I almost walked out, but I thought, no, the men who fought and died there deserve my respect and my time to see what they did, what they gave. And since then, I've seen the movie 100 times. Well, I didn't count, but a lot of times. And every time I'm just, and I cry every time in that movie too. All right, now on to another topic here. The list of things that I didn't like. It's small, but just to balance out so you can kind of get a little context and some scoop. There were some things that I thought could have done better. For example, I was kind of surprised some of the acting was pretty wooden. I feel like a schmuck for saying something like that because the movie shares such an important message, but it wasn't Hollywood style quality in terms of just big name actors and fabulous acting throughout. There were a lot of very unknown actors, at least to me. The movie goes from sorrow to pain to struggle to more sorrow. It's a very serious drama, and it would have been nice to have a little bit of humor to balance out some of those devastating moments because it becomes exhausting. And some of the same ideas are sort of rehashed over and over. I'm like, I know that's so terrible. Let's move on to, something else. On a personal note, my stepfather passed away last year, almost to the day. He was so proud to be a Marine. We were extremely frustrated in those last few months that in the end, the Veterans Administration did absolutely nothing for him. He never got the medical services that he was promised. Yeah, we had someone play taps at his funeral service, and he did get the burial site at a veteran's cemetery, but all of the medical that he was promised and the caregiving was absolutely not given at all and came out of his savings. And my mother died shortly after. And anyway, it was just devastating. It's exhausting to watch these veterans struggle so much in scene after scene. There is hope too in this movie, but overall it is a very serious, devastating film, I thought. But on the flip side, it made me say, Trina, what am I doing? I'm sitting here crying. I need to get out there and do something for those vets. Sure, I've donated money and I have donated some time at various efforts, over the many years, but it made me want to do more. And I hope that you have that same sense of urgency that there are people out there who need our help, and they absolutely deserve every bit of it. All right, so let me give you some tips for parents. I think, unfortunately, kids are going to be bored with all of the talking scenes. So the soldier has come back and he's just a mess, physically, emotionally, and we see flashbacks of the war taking place overseas in Afghanistan specifically. Kids might be interested in battle scenes, but there's a lot of talking and a lot of drama. There is some profanity, but lots of F-bombs, and those are predominantly in the war scenes, and rightly so. I mean, they're in the thick of bombs flying and soldiers losing their lives and that kind of thing. Firearms are used. We see several people shot. Other weapons are involved, especially, again, in the war scenes, the battle scenes. We do see some blood and we do see some people die. Now, some of the themes that are illustrated very well throughout the entire film are war, of course, PTSD, of course, suicide, brotherhood, honor, humility, second chances, depression, survivor's guilt, heroes. And this thing really struck me. Several of these vets were saying, I came home, I'm not a hero. All I did was survive. And I 100% disagree. Anybody who is willing to go and risk their life for the protection of our country's interests absolutely is a hero. And so if you're a soldier or former or previous vet or whatever, and you feel like, oh, I'm not a hero, no, you are wrong. You are. And on behalf of a grateful nation, thank you for your service. You absolutely are a hero in my eyes and in everybody else's eyes. And don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Other themes are courage, veteran services, the Veterans Administration, of course, the Vietnam War and Afghanistan War, and making a difference in people's lives. And we see lots of different examples of how that can be done. Little simple kindnesses, just listening to someone is a way that you can make a difference in someone's lives. So whenever I watch movies, I take notes and I write down, especially funny lines and interesting lines, simply so I can share them with you so you can get a taste of the movie. I didn't write down any funny lines because, again, it's a serious drama, but I did write down some interesting lines. And in fact, the list is long and I won't take the time to share all of them with you. But you can go over to my written review at moviereviewmom.com and you can read all of them there. There are just so many gold nuggets in these utterances coming out of the mouths of these wounded soldiers. And so Sam Medina plays a character whose name is Daniel Hernandez. And he says, some men died. The rest of us have been slowly dying ever since we got home. And that kind of summarizes the movie. You see these soldiers in these varying stages of not living their life, but slowly dying until they start to get some help. Now, this other vet who is the mentor for Sam Medina's character is played by Charles R. Rooney, and he's such a great character. He never lectures or scolds and acts like he's so much better. He knows he was exactly in the same situation as these new soldiers who are returning. And in some cases, his situation was even worse because he came home after the Vietnam War, where Americans, his fellow citizens, were protesting and throwing rocks and being mean to the returning soldiers, which boggles my mind. Now, I understand that war was controversial, but come on, the soldier was doing it because they were drafted. They didn't have a choice. Anyway, as this man is talking to this new vet coming back from Afghanistan, he says, he reminds this character, you had a choice. Nobody forced you to go over there. You were not drafted. You chose to serve. And now you're choosing what life you're going to lead right now. And so he asks, don't you think it's time to make a new choice? Because this young soldier is just banging his head against the wall in frustration and anger, and that's not getting him anywhere. And so this wise vet gives him that great advice. And then continuing on that thread, he says, you have to live a life now, not the life you wanted, but the life you were dealt. And I thought that was a really great distinction because these soldiers don't come back the same do they? And so you're not going to be able to have that dream that you had before you left, but you can create a new dream. You can definitely create a new life. And maybe it will be better than the one you had even imagined. Daniel Hernandez, again played by San Medina, says nothing can prepare you for war. And you get that frustration as they're trying to talk to us regular civilians about what it was like. And there are no words to describe what they saw, the horrors that they had to go through, especially in an active war zone like that. Chuck says, he's played by Charles R. Rooney, he says, war teaches you about sorrow, pressure, and pain. No kidding. But then he also says, war forces you to see humanity at its absolute worst. And you are also blessed to see humanity at its most glorious best. That's amazing. And so he's constantly reminding this new young soldier, you got to have hope. And this movie is hopeful as you watch these men go through months and months of rehabilitation, physically, emotionally, and each little step gets them closer to having more and more hope. And then ultimately, Sam Medina's character says, no one wins in war. No one. It is tough what these men and women have to go through, and when they're out and then when they come back. So again, hopefully that you'll feel some sense of urgency to give back some way, and more importantly, find a meaningful way to help our vets. All right, before I go, let me give you recommendations for some other films about PTSD and these vets returning home. One is a recent, very uplifting film called Mending the Line. Again, a younger soldier returning and an older wise vet trying to teach him how to have hope, how to rebuild his life, that kind of stuff. But it's much more positive and uplifting and based on a true story, in fact, rather than this one where it really pulls you down almost the entire movie. Another really difficult movie to watch is called Cherry, but I just thought the performances were outstanding. That one involves, again, a soldier coming home, but he gets involved with all kinds of drugs, which just makes everything worse for him. And, he's got to fight his way back, pull himself back if he can. And the question is, will he? And then another one that I thought had some really good performances is called Thank You for Your Service. So many times we see somebody, I do this all the time. I'll see someone in the store or at the airport, often in the airport, and I, will run up to somebody and say, thank you so much for your service. And they'll say, thanks. And I've asked my son that when people see him in uniform, do they say that, and does he appreciate it, or does it seem a little trite? And he said, no, he absolutely appreciates it. But a point that was made out in this movie is all these vets are not wearing their uniforms anymore. Nobody is running up to them and saying, thank you for your service, unless they have a veteran's hat on. It's hard to know. And so to be mindful, to be kind, to give one another the benefit of a doubt, because you just don't know what everybody's going through. And the truth is, everyone is going through something, right? All right, that's my review for today. I hope that my reviews are helpful in your deciding whether or not you want to watch a movie or get a bunch of people, or decide which kinds of people you want to watch the movie with, depending on the content and that kind of stuff. Anyway, again, if you are a veteran or a current active military, thank you so, so much. We love you. Have a fantastic day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.